National League with 20. Yelich at 19. Turner at 17. Wong at 14. Acuna 13. Starling Marte 13. Yasiel Puig 13. Fernando Tatis Jr. 13. Victor Robles 12. Dyson at 20? Are you kidding me? He's 35 years old and he leads the National League in stolen bases and doesn't even play all the time. Colton Wong, 14 stolen bases. There's you a cheap source of stolen bases if you're needed in the league. And I love Yasiel Puig in the second half. I just think he's got 20 home runs, 13 RBIs. He's hitting 256 all of a sudden. I just see big things out of Puig and Tatis in the second half. Runs scored, National League. Bellinger at 70. Bell at 69. Freeman at 69. Story and Acuna at 68. Blackmon 67. Chris Bryant and Yelich at 66. Rendon at 65. Tight there for runs scored, but it's the same names I keep calling out. Bellinger, Bell, Freeman, Acuna. I think it's the first time I've called Story's name. Blackmon, Bryant, Yelich, and Rendon. OPS, National League, only had one over one in the American League. That was Trout. I've got 5 in the National League over 1. Yelich, 1.140. Bellinger, 1.124. Josh Bell, 1.024. Blackmon, 1.010. Alonso, 1.006. And then not far behind, Rendon, 0.997. Freeman, 0.978. Bryant, 0.955. And Soto, 0.943. Now, that guy says that Cleveland is trying to get Urias and Renfroe. I don't think that ever happens. I don't think San Diego trades away Urias and Renfroe for a pitcher. The thing that concerns me about Urias, though, guys, and let's have this discussion for a moment, and I put him in the same category with an outfielder in Houston, is you've heard so much about Urias. You've heard so much about Kyle Tucker. Yet the major league teams keep these guys down at AAA for the likes of a second baseman in San Diego who is ready to be put out to pasture, and Tyler White in Houston. Beg the question, why aren't the Padres calling Urias up? Why hasn't he been back up? Why have the Astros not called back up Tucker? Okay, so here's a perspective. The perspective is they're more valuable as trade pieces kept at AAA, dominating AAA, than they are to be brought up to the major leagues where they may not succeed. And they then no longer have the trade value. So my point being, if you can get a Trevor Bauer in San Diego, and they're wanting to add a piece like Urias, how good is really Urias? I don't know. And that's a perspective. Something to think about. Hits leaders in the National League. Freddie Freeman, 110. Ketel Marte, 110. Cody Bellinger, 107. Arenado, 106. Acuna, 105. Blackmon, 104. Baez, 103. And Escobar, again, Eduardo Escobar, 103. Ozzie Albies, first time we've called his name, 102. And Josh Bell, 102. There he is again. I think Josh Bell just does not get enough respect. Pitching, American League, ERA, Charlie Morton, 232. Mike Minor, 254. Justin Verlander, the All-Star Game starter, 298. Berrios, 3. Garrett Cole, 309. Chirinos, 315. Giolito, 315. Stroman, The talk of trade discussion too, 318. Miley, 328. Turnbull, 331. Where does Stroman go? Stroman in discussion. Hadn't pitched in a little while. Having a good first half. That guy says Cleveland needs to blow it up. Believe all these guys start walking in free agency. I agree. That's why I think they're trading Bauer. I don't care if they're in the race. And I'm not sure why they want to pick on Bauer so much, but I think he's the most marketable, and I think he gets the biggest return. And I could see a San Diego walking into that trade. Wins in the American League. Giolito and Lynn at 11. Domingo Germán, Marco Gonzalez, Charlie Morton, Jake Odorizzi, Justin Verlander at 10. Brett Anderson, Andrew Cashner at 9. There's a player pitching for the Orioles, and he's won 9 games. Is Andrew Cashner a trade player here at the deadline coming up in just a few weeks? Better to trade too soon than too late. Who else agrees with that? I'm on board with that one for sure. Bauer's not having the best year ever. Marco Gonzalez is. 10 wins. Left-hander. Cashner 9 for the Orioles. Anybody interested? Or are they just a desert mirage? Strikeouts, American League, Garrett Cole 170, Sale 153, tied with Verlander. Bauer third at 149. Boyd, another trade candidate, 142. Martin, 142. Shane Bieber, 141. Let's talk about Matt Boyd for a moment. Where is he going? He's going somewhere. Houston, Detroit wants, we talked about it earlier, they want Kyle Tucker. Houston says no. But what are you waiting for? Are you going to play Houston, Kyle Tucker, or to Houston, are you going to play Kyle Tucker this year at the major league level? You haven't yet. You've elected for the likes of Tyler White, Tony Kemp, not a top prospect. You called Jordan Alvarez up, he's sticking. Kyle Tucker's still on the farm. If you're not going to play him, why not trade him? Matt Boyd, Detroit wants him. Detroit wants to trade him. Career league 142 strikeouts so far here at the All-Star break. It seems like Houston gets these pitchers like a Garrett Cole, who leads the league in strikeouts at 170. When they get him from Pittsburgh, he's a mediocre pitcher. He's a 500 pitcher. He comes to Houston, he's all of a sudden a Cy Young candidate. Could Matt Boyd, as a lefty, sort of balancing it out, right? They got the two right-handers in Cole and Verlander, add a Boyd. I'd take the trade. I'd trade Kyle Tucker for Matt Boyd. What about you? That guy says, I could see the Orioles getting something for Cashner, but they really need to move Mancini. They could certainly get something. Could you package them both up? To get 2 or 3, maybe a major league ready player in Baltimore and some minor league talent. You know, they're stashing. They're really, I talked about it, and we'll talk about it some more in a few moments. They have really built up their farm system. Trading with the Dodgers, DL Hall, futures game. Their draft, they get a catcher this year. Matt Castle, he's ready to come up. I mean, the Orioles seem to be doing it the right way. Jack says they won't move Mancini. Now, Jack is an Oriole follower. Jack, give us some more input in the chat room, okay? Tell us who you think they will move, won't move. Do you think they'll move Cashner? I think they have to. Can they find a player? I've watched Tucker play for Houston at minor league level. He has a glitch in his swing, guys. Houston knows it. They're going to trade him. They're playing possum right now with Detroit. I predict that trade, Kyle Tucker for Boyd. It's going to happen. Of course they're going to say that. They're going to promote him as long as they can. They're looking for the best deal they can get. I think it's Matt Boyd. Saves in the American League. Chapman, 24. Brad Hand, 23. Shane Green, 22. We're going to trade candidate there. Colomé, 20. Trade candidate there. Giles, 13. Trade candidate there. Who needs a closer? Shane Green, Alex Colomé, Ken Giles. They're all on the market. Unholy says the A's could use Cashner. Exactly. And how about Mateo for Cashner at AAA? Could the Orioles use Mateo? Would the A's be willing to trade him? Do you go down to AA and pick a prospect there? Obviously, the A's haven't seen they called Barreto up to play second base, not Mateo. They must think Barreto's better than Mateo. Again, keeping him at AAA. He's not exposed at major league levels. Jack says move Cashner, Alberto, and Bundy. I said earlier, Alberto hitting 309 in the top 10 American League in hitting. Probably a good trade chip for the Orioles to trade if that's what they choose to do. I've never really liked Bundy. Let's see. Let's look at ERA in the National League. We're going to finish these league leaders up. And I usually have the 10 o'clock show. Unless somebody tells me differently, I'm just going to keep rolling with you guys as long as you want to stay on with me. Ryu at 173. Castillo at 229. Scherzer at 230. Greinke 2.73. Hamels 2.98. Zach Davies 3.07. Kershaw 3.09. DeGrom 3.27. Corbin 3.34 and Walker Buehler 3.46. Ryu certainly's got to be the surprise on that list. Castillo at 229, another surpriser. Will they sustain? Will Ryu stay healthy in the second half? There's the question. He's your All-Star game starter tonight. I always hope he just makes it through the next start. But he's made it through every start, right? He's been on the IL for a little while, but nothing major. But he's just another glass house. Billy Joel album, 1980. That guy says, I also think a name that should be on the market is Jose Abreu. You know, the thing, though, about Abreu, he has good numbers this year, and I wonder how much of an influence Abreu is on these young guys coming up. You know, Makita is at third, but they've got Robert in the system. They've got Eloy Jimenez starting in left field. Is he such a good clubhouse presence, and he's producing, that they don't want to get rid of that right now? Maybe he's the glue that kind of holds it together. And the White Sox, they're having a pretty decent year. I don't think they're a playoff team this year, but they could be next year. Okay. We'll see. And I agree with you. He could be a trade. They've got a guy, Gavin, I can't think of Gavin's last name, and a first base prospect at high A, Gavin Steele, who are players. So they've got first baseman in the system. I guess the question would be that guy, if you're going to trade Abreu, where to? Let's look at the National League, American League. He's probably a DH first baseman, and you've got Tampa. Wow, that could be an interesting match, right? Put him in that lineup. Put him in Boston's lineup. Minnesota, not necessarily strong. I don't know if they trade him in division. But I could see him going to Tampa or Boston, can't you? And Tampa has more ability to trade young talent than Boston does. And if you put an Abreu in the middle of that Rays lineup, hey, that guy agrees with me. He agrees with me. Tampa's the spot. I think Tampa's the perfect spot for Jose Abreu. In that lineup, with the young players they've got, it would give them stability. He's going to hit some home runs. They've got a lot of games with the Orioles and the Blue Jays in the second half. Sounds kind of tasty to me, right? So we'll see. Wins in the National League, Greinke at 10, Ryu at 10, Strasburg at 10, Woodruff at 10. You don't go chasing wins in fantasy, but here are some guys who've won 10. Soroka, we mentioned him earlier, possible Rookie of the Year at 9 with Fried. Gray for the Rockies and Scherzer all at 9 wins. Strikeouts, Scherzer at 181. long ahead of DeGrom and Strasburg at 138. Robbie Ray